All right. All right, y'all. So we are at our lunch break. What was unusual? Oh, you step in back because I don't have my mic. Okay. So we are at the lunch break. Basically, what happened was they did three witnesses, and then after they did three witnesses, they decided that it would be better to break at 11 so that the rest of the day flows smoothly. And they told us to come back at 12:30. When I came out, I was talking to JLR Reports. He was covering footage on at the Diddy trial. Definitely go check that out. And I'll just get into the testimony that happened so far today. If you guys can hear me, I'm gonna try to project my voice loudly. But the first witness was a witness from Centennial. He was a friend of Karmelo on the track team, and he is a 17-year-old. I can't give his name because he's a minor, but he said that he spoke to the detectives that day and he went to the same track meet at the same time. And when he went to the track meet at the same time, he said that he was like bouncing around between um soccer and track, so he was kind of like all over the place. And then they wanted to know like if he was on JV and if Carmelo was on varsity. And anyways, I'm gonna try to not to pay attention. Thank y'all. So they wanted to know what mood Carmelo was in. It's nice. This is I know they were trying to intimidate her, right? The man came. I just listened to the podcast and she was crying into the security, though. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We're not part of that. No, we're just interested in I've like podcasts. Okay, so he wanted to know basically like how was it that day? He wanted to know like what was the mood and everything like that. He said like when they first got there, they warmed up, and then after they warmed up, then they went to like this soccer dugout. So I mean not the soccer dugout. They went to the dugout. Let me read where I was at.
I'm good, Queen. Keep going.
Okay. I don't know. Y'all start moving around me in a circle, so I start. Okay.
Don't worry about them.
Okay. All right. Um. Sorry. Let me find my spot real quick. Oh, okay. So they wanted to know basically what was the culture and what was like the usual things that they would do at track. Like they wanted to know like if it was usual for a student to talk to other teams and if that was like out of the norm. They wanted to know like if they saw other students talk to people who were from other schools. And they said that like what was the difference between the culture of like football and what was the difference between the culture of track. And so he said like with football they kind of like start and it's like start to finish, but with track there's so many different events going on that they have like a lot of downtime. They're able to talk to students and everything like that. The guy was just taking my photo. Okay, I'm just saying.
You got 1,000 people taking your picture right now.
Huh?
You got 1,000 people looking at your picture right now. You had 1,001. Yeah.
Okay, so he said so it was like 2 to 3 of them, and they were going to the like baseball dugout. And then while they were at the baseball dugout, they were basically trying to hide out from the rain because it had started raining and they were trying to get away from the rain. So when the baseball coach came out and told them that they didn't have to, that they had to go from being there, he decided to walk somewhere else, and they went back to the field. It said that Coach Wooten told them to go warm up. He said the weather was rolling in. It looked like a big storm was coming. They go put their spikes on and start to warm up with a bunch of people, including Melo. He said he was on the 4x100 team on the field, and the rain had started to die down, and then it had started to pick up again. While they were out there, then Melo heads to the bleachers. Saw him later on in the bleachers. So basically, he was kind of like setting up the stage where he said that he was on the field and then Melo was in the bleachers, but he was able to, like, from the 40-yard line, observe where Melo was, and things like that. And so, like, he said that he would like be looking over there and he noticed like some movement and stuff like that. So then they wanted to know, like, well, was there a time where you noticed Karmelo under the memorial tent? And he said that he noticed him under the memorial tent closer to the top right. And then after that, he said he went to go test out his cleats because he had never did like a track meet before where rain was coming down. So he wanted to like test out his cleats and stuff. So then he said that um underneath the tent that Melo was under, they wanted to know, like, was it super crowded? Was it medium crowded? And he said that it was medium full. He said that it was getting crowded, but it was still like room for people to get under there. And they wanted to know, like, well, what was your position? He said sometimes his position would be at the 40-yard line, sometimes it would be at the 20-yard line. And so he was able to hear certain things. And they wanted to know what the mood was under the tent. And the mood basically was normal. So he said, like, when he first was looking up at the tent, the mood was like normal. It didn't really look like a lot was going on or whatever. But he said that it was like a normal mood. And then he said he was able to be close enough to where he was able to hear voices on the field. And that's basically what caught his attention. He said he looked back and he's seen people like on the front row of the bleachers looking to the back. And that was kind of, that's something that he started to notice. He said that he saw a push and he saw arms like go out and make contact with Melo. He said there were people all around Melo, and he was wondering maybe like, is the interaction with them friendly or like did something happen? He said that out of nowhere, like it got super loud and people stood up, and then he was like, whoa, like, wondering what was going on. And then he said at first it sounded like people might be laughing, and then that's when he saw the push, but he didn't see Melo stab anybody. He said that Austin, the next thing they were like, okay, so like what are the next things that you noticed? He said the next thing that he noticed was Austin pulled up his shirt saying that he got stabbed. He didn't know Austin at the time. He saw Melo do like a light jog going to the right of the bleachers. And then he saw Melo on the field. He said, so then they wanted to know basically what was his behavior when he was on the field after this situation had happened. And he basically said that Melo was crying. Like, he was able to see that he was very emotional. And he said the best way that he can describe how Melo was that he was distraught. He said that basically like everybody was in that same like distraught mood. Then they wanted to know, like, what did he hear him say?
I know y'all know about Ronald Reagan.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but I got 10 more minutes. So if y'all in the chat can look at the time, let my uncle know when 10 minutes go by. So, because I got 10 more minutes. So
So I think that
All right, so after that, it was time for the prosecution to do cross. And basically, what they tried to do was discredit the witness. They tried to basically say, well, you know that when we showed you the video about a few weeks ago, that when you thought that all of this stuff happened and when you thought you saw a movement, that wasn't until after the stabbing, it wasn't before. And then he was like, yes, he agreed that it was after. And then he wanted to know basically
nobody wins in this.
that he got a few things wrong from his account and from what he had remembered. And then he said that in the detective's statement, you say Mello was normal. He said, yes, sir. He said, you say that you guys went to the dugout and they told you to leave. And then he was like, yes, sir. And then after they were in the dugout, he said that when the coach told you guys to leave, you left without a problem, right? And then he was like, yes, sir, or whatever. And then he said you thought people were surrounding Mello, and but that was after the stabbing. And then they was like, well, do you want us to show you like where you were on the field when all of this happened? And he said that like they didn't really need to show him. But then the prosecution was kind of like pressing, and he was basically like, well, we can show you if if you don't remember, or you want to like refresh your recollection and stuff like that. And so then they showed him a video where he was standing on the field, and while he was standing on the field, he basically was reminded that he was kind of like in the middle. So if you ever been to a football stadium and you see like there's like a center of the field, like there's like halfway between one side to the other, like he was in the kind of like the middle in the 40-yard line. And then you can see that the bleachers were kind of like a little bit away. And then he showed him how once he started to look back, it looked like it was after the stabbing. And he was like, well, the murder just happened right now, right? And that's when you look back, blah, blah, blah. So then after they did that, they bounced it back to the defense. And the defense said, well, you weren't in here when there was testimony that there was discrepancies with the timestamps, right? Like you weren't in here when there was testimony, and you haven't been looking at the testimony, so you wouldn't know that there was a discrepancy with the sync of the videos. And he was like, yeah, no, I wouldn't know that, or whatever like that. And then he was basically like, when you first talked to the detective, you said people formed a U around Mello. And then when you looked at the video, said that they formed an L. So when he said that, the prosecution argued that he was leading the witness, and he like put in like whatever motion or whatever. And then he said the tent that you said was medium full, and they said yes, sir. And it was like not like packed prior to the push, sitting under the tent. You saw people all around him under the tent. And then he said there were people walking by. There were people like he was like describing what he saw, because he saw like people walking by, people like going around and stuff like that. And so they wanted to know again, like, okay, so right before the incident, like what was the mood? And he said that it was normal. And then he was like, let's see. He said, like you described everything to the best of your recollection. So then it was back to cross, and they wanted him to say again like where Mello was, and he said he was in the top corner. And when they showed the video of them running to show that it was synced up, so they showed him the video again, and they were like, well, this is synced up with the murder, blah blah. And then it went back to the defense, and then the defense was like, he tried to like say like it like insinuate like it wasn't synced up or whatever. And so he said that it was like part of varsity, etc. So after that, they said it's time for the next witness, and then like one of the jurors was like raising his hand or whatever, and they had put like they went on like a sidebar with the lawyers, and basically The juror had 5 minutes to go to the restroom. We couldn't leave the courtroom. And then when we came back, it was Officer Riley. Now, Officer Riley, his name is Bo Riley. He's employed by the city of Frisco, and he serves as a detective in Crimes Against Children unit. He said at the time that the April 2nd incident happened, he was serving a search warrant on an individual that did a crime against a child. And he was told about the stabbing, so he headed to the stadium to interview some of the witnesses. And they wanted to know if one of the witnesses that he interviewed was a guy by the name of Eddie Parra. He said, yes, sir. It took place in the field house. That's where they did the interview, in the field house. And they wanted to know about the search that he did on Eddie's phone. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to the testimony of the witnesses, Eddie Parra testified that he lifted up his phone and he pretended to act like he was filming the video. And so they wanted to prove that, like, you guys did a search, but you didn't like forensically download it. So like if he prior deleted something, you guys didn't download his phone to actually get an accurate accounting of the content. That's kind of what they were trying to get everybody to understand. And he said that he just did a consent search where Eddie was right there and he was like telling him like, well, go to your photos or go to this, go to that type of thing, like that. The next witness was another student, but I'll save the rest for after. I just wanted to give you guys an update because something about today, like the way that they broke at 11 and wanted to come back at 12:30. I'm interested to see why that was and who the next witness is. They didn't announce who the next witness is going to be. So it looked like they were preparing for something. I'm really not sure, but I will keep you guys updated. Make sure you have your notification bells on. I have been in the courtroom every single day of this trial, and I'll be giving you guys live updates when I can. So thank you guys so much, and we're out. You ain't gonna have it.